When my son, Max, was in kindergarten, he was really into bears. He read every library book he could get his hands on, and he regaled his father and me with pretty solid mini lectures about the different species. So we decided to take Max to the zoo for a behind-the-scenes tour of the bear habitats. "I need you to stay in the middle of the walkway so the bears can't reach you," the guide said to our small group before unlocking a heavy metal door and ushering us into a dim, cavernous space with cages on either side of an alarmingly narrow path. Pointing to the nearest cage, the guide said, "This is a black bear. They're great climbers." Max raised his hand with the absolute confidence of childhood and said, "I could climb higher." Everyone smiled, and we moved on to the next cage. Perhaps to heighten the experience, the guide started reciting what to do if a bear attacks. "When all else fails," he said, "don't believe that tale about playing dead. You're gonna have to fight." Max puffed his chest. "I could beat him." And so it went until we got to the last cage, which housed a grizzly bear. The creature pressed his enormous head against the door and glared. His huge forepaws were on either side of his jowls, and his nails, long as steak knives, were sticking out. "Well, if this guy comes at you," the guide said, "it's pretty much over. Just look at those paws. One swipe and you're done. And they can run 35 miles an hour." Max crowed. "I could run faster." This time I think even the bear laughed. I think about that story whenever AI comes up. I'm a medical interpreter. Hospitals are already replacing us with AI without collaborating with our national boards to learn about our ethics guidelines. Let me share a little bit about my profession. Interpreting is about access, justice, autonomy, and compassion in healing. We are conduits for communicating meaning, not just words, which means that in addition to language fluency, we practice cultural fluency. We watch for nonverbals, like when a patient is holding something back out of embarrassment or is confused but too shy or polite to ask for clarification. Based on a variety of clues we get from the patient about class, educational level, and culture, we adjust for what we call register. Here's an example. High register, prominentia laryngeae. Medium register, Adam's apple. Low register, you know that bump in your neck that moves up and down when you swallow? Many of the medical practitioners hail from all over the world, and our American medical culture must also be considered in every encounter. Some of the most complex cases involve patients with brain injuries. I interpreted for a stroke patient whose speech therapist gave him a set of jumbled picture cards to place in order. They showed a young boy getting ready for school. In the correct order, the boy would wake up, make his bed, get dressed, eat a bowl of cereal, get his backpack, and leave. The therapist didn't expect much because the patient had been largely unresponsive. After trying for a while, I asked permission to inquire about his morning habits. The therapist agreed, so I sat closer and asked, "Señor, tell me about your mornings." Here's what we learned. He slept on a tapete, or mat, not a bed. He awoke at dawn to the sound of his rooster. His wife would hand him a cloth bundle with his food for the day, and he would head out to work the land. He ate whenever he felt hungry. He'd never attended school. The cards made no sense to him. Once they understood, the medical staff adjusted his therapies. I wonder what this patient's outcome would have been with AI. Would it have known to change course? Could a machine have earned this man's trust? Could it have deciphered his silence or only mimicked it, leaving him without the help he deserved? There's an interpreter saying, people who speak different languages don't live in a world with different words. They live in different worlds. I've witnessed people living conceptually and contextually in different centuries. When a human interpreter enters a room, the patient's blood pressure, heart rate, and pain level go down. And when we touch their hand, the pain goes down even more. And what about the interpreters? What about the sense of meaning and purpose we get from our work? And what is lost when we ask machines to try and do all this? And which efficiencies are we trading? And who reaps the rewards? And at whose expense? And who is answering these questions? And why do they think they're entitled to answer them for all of us? Max's conviction that he could hold his own against real bears reminds me of the hubris of the tech industry in the face of AI. Only they've opened the cages. And I'm not laughing.